We live in an era where reality itself feels increasingly unstable. News cycles shift narratives overnight, social media propagates conflicting worldviews, and political ideologies mutate at a speed never before seen in history. Events that would have once taken years to unfold now materialize in days, sometimes hours, seemingly out of nowhere. But is this acceleration a product of mere randomness, or is something deeper at play? What if reality is not an objective structure but a feedback loop of beliefs, perceptions, and media narratives? What if our world is, at least partially, the result of hyperstition, the process by which fiction manifests into fact? Hyperstition is a concept that challenges the conventional understanding of reality. Coined by the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit, CCRU, in the late 20th century, the term blends hyper, beyond, excessive, with superstition, indicating a belief that brings itself into existence simply through its propagation. In simpler terms, hyperstition describes self-fulfilling prophecies. An idea, once believed widely enough, becomes real through action, reaction, and social reinforcement. Modern hyperstition is driven by one of the most powerful forces in human history, mass media. Whether through news agencies, entertainment industries, or algorithmically generated social feeds, media has become the hyperstitional engine of the 21st century, shaping public perception, political landscapes, and even economic markets. Are we living in a fabricated reality, one sculpted by media narratives and self-fulfilling ideologies? And if so, who controls these hyperstitions and to what end? To understand hyperstition, we must first acknowledge the paradoxical relationship between ideas and reality. Traditional Western thought often views reality as something external, an objective structure independent of human belief. However, history shows otherwise. Many of the most significant social, political, and technological changes in human civilization began not as concrete realities but as abstract ideas. Take, for example, the concept of human rights. Before the 18th century, the idea that all people possessed inherent rights was largely non-existent. But through philosophical discourse and political movements, the concept gained traction, eventually becoming the legal foundation of modern democracies. Cryptocurrency and digital finance. Bitcoin was once nothing more than a white paper and an idea circulating within cyberpunk communities. Today, digital assets have transformed global economies. Artificial intelligence and self-aware machines. AI consciousness was once pure science fiction, yet today it is an active area of research, with tech leaders debating the ethical implications of AI sentience. In each case, belief preceded reality. An idea spread, gained legitimacy, and ultimately transformed the world. Hyperstition operates in a similar way, but often at a much faster and more unpredictable rate. Hyperstition thrives in environments where information spreads rapidly, and in the modern world, mass media and social networks have become the primary conduits. Unlike the past, where ideas took decades or centuries to shape societies, today, a hyperstition can manifest into reality in mere hours. Consider how the media cycle functions. A speculative idea is introduced. A single news outlet or social media account presents a claim, often unverified but framed as a potential reality. The idea is repeated and framed as legitimate. As more media sources reference the claim, it begins to appear credible, regardless of whether it was initially true. The public internalizes and acts upon it. People adjust their behaviors, expectations, and beliefs in response to the growing narrative. The idea materializes into reality. As enough people behave as if the claim were true, it becomes self-fulfilling. One of the most striking examples of hyperstition is the role of financial media in shaping economic reality. If a major news outlet reports that a company is on the verge of collapse, investors panic and sell stocks, causing the very collapse they feared. If financial analysts predict a coming recession, businesses tighten budgets, reduce hiring, and consumers cut spending, triggering the recession. In both cases, the reality was not inevitable. It was created through belief and reaction. The same mechanism applies to political ideologies, social movements, and even global crises. Narratives are seeded, repeated, believed, and acted upon, bringing speculative futures into material existence. The modern world operates under the constant threat of crisis. Economic crashes, environmental collapses, political instability. Each day brings new anxieties, reinforcing the idea that we are living in a perpetual state of emergency. But is this instability naturally occurring, or is it an engineered hyperstition? If crisis is the dominant narrative, then crisis becomes the dominant reality. People adjust their behaviors, governments pass emergency policies, corporations shift priorities, all in response to a crisis that only exists because it was believed in and acted upon. The hyperstition of a permanent crisis benefits many institutions. Governments use crisis narratives to justify control measures, increase surveillance, and centralized power. Corporations capitalize on fear-driven consumer behaviors, selling security, scarcity, and insurance. Media organizations profit from outrage-based engagement, where fear and division drive viewership. The hyperstition of crisis feeds itself, becoming an accelerating loop of belief, reaction, and reinforcement. If hyperstition shapes reality, the ability to control hyperstition is the ultimate power. Consider the mechanisms that amplify certain narratives while suppressing others. Media gatekeeping, the filtering of which stories receive attention and which do not. Algorithmic control, the use of AI and social media algorithms to boost preferred narratives and suppress dissenting voices. Psychological operations, PSYOPs. Governments and intelligence agencies have long used controlled narratives to direct public perception. The digital age has made narrative warfare more sophisticated than ever. What was once the domain of religious institutions and political leaders is now controlled by algorithmic consensus building, where truth is defined not by facts but by engagement metrics. If hyperstition is a force that shapes reality, then the ability to construct our own hyperstitions is the key to reclaiming agency. How to break free from media-driven hyperstitions. Question every dominant narrative. Who benefits from this belief system? What incentives drive it? Analyze sources, not just headlines. Don't just accept what is repeated. Trace the origins of ideas. Recognize your power in shaping reality. If belief creates reality, then crafting your own beliefs is an act of liberation. The ultimate realization is this: reality is negotiable. The only question is whether you will passively accept someone else's hyperstition or if you will create your own. Hyperstition is not just a concept. It is the operating system of modern civilization. Ideas, once seeded, take on a life of their own, shaping markets, governments, and societies. If you do not control your own narratives, someone else will. The choice is simple: be a character in someone else's hyperstition, or become the author of your own.